Alright, so I'm going to be building a cattle panel greenhouse. It's about time that I do it. I've been wanting to do it, but now that the weather's cooled down a little bit, I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to build this greenhouse. And I'm going to try to keep it under $150. So the main area that I'm thinking of putting the greenhouse is right over here where I have my leaf mold bins. And since I am amending my beds, I've already started emptying it out. I'm going to remove these two bins here, and so basically from this tree line right here, because those are going to be 8 feet, I'm going to try to make it 8 foot long by 6 foot wide. So there we go. I have the area all cleared out, and basically it's time to build the foundation, which is going to be 8 foot 2x4s, two 8 foot 2x4s by, and then two 6 foot 2x4s. That's going to be the foundation. Okay guys, so here's the first side rail. It's 8 feet long, and of course with every project I do, there's always a shit show involved. So as you can see that it's 8 foot long completely. That right there is a problem already. Let me show you why. Here's the cattle panel. Let me get that straight. And it just so happens that the cattle panel, you know, God forbid that the company could make the cattle panel 48 inches long. I mean, God forbid. They had to make it 50 feet long. So that right there causes a problem. Alright guys, so after scratching my head for about 10 minutes, I decided to bring the board out. This is still the 8 foot board, the sidewall. As you can see, it's right at the end flush where I want it. So instead of cutting, and you can see on this end, it's a little too long. So instead of cutting anything, I don't know if it's my genius brain. I doubt it's my genius brain, but I did scratch over it. So what I'm going to do is, initially I was going to have these butt up against each other and then just zip tie them or hog ring them, whatever. So I did the measurements between here and here, and there's an extra 4 inches, which is what this is. I mean, I'm sorry, yeah, 4 inches, 2 inches here, 2 inches there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double it up all the way down the middle. When I connect these, you can see, is I'm just going to double them and then tie them here, and then that brings this end here pretty flush to the end, which is exactly what I want. So I'm glad I took a breather and I scratched my head a little bit, so now I don't have to do any cutting. So here's the basic foundation. It's just, you got the 8 footers, you have the 8 footers on the sides, and then you have 6 footers. These here are my 6 footers. One thing that's important, let me back up so you guys can see, is the 6 footers need to be on the outside, not on the inside. And what I mean by that is you don't want this to be here like this, because now you're losing 2 inches, and we already measured the cattle panel. You want is on the outside, because remember, the way I'm going to do it is the cattle panel is going to go on the inside, not the outside. So don't do that. You want to do that. Okay, so in case you are wondering, I am using 3-inch exterior deck screws. Since this is going to be outside for hopefully a really long time, you know, invest the money in at least some decent, nice screws. These are 3-inch. And nothing to it. We're just going to screw them right in. Let me turn that. And you want to make sure everything is nice, as level as possible, as you can, you know, possibly get it. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about cost for a second here. I did say I want to build this greenhouse here for under $150. So far, I already had the wood, so I'm not going to count that or factor that into the price. The cattle panels were $38 a piece, which turned out to be like 80 something dollars, I forget. But anyway, they doubled from last year, because last year I saw the same cattle panels at Tractor Supply, and they were only like $15, $16 for a 4x56 cattle panel, and a year later they're like $38 each. So far I'm about 80, call it $85 into the cattle panels. And then what I'm gonna use is these right here, which are I don't know, fence posting things that homesteaders use. I bought a whole box. These are 1 1/4 inch. That's what they are, right there. 1 1/4 inch. I will leave the link for these on my Amazon store in the description box below. So that's what these are, and they cost me $9. And also, Buffalo Bills. That's right, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Great way to open up the 2022 season. What an ass whooping you put on the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. What a joke. Buffalo, it's time. Let's go, Buffalo. So I got the whole foundation built. Now the next question is, how high do I want it? Because, you know, the cattle panel's gonna be arcing over from one side to the other, so a span of 6 feet. And I'm 5'8", and I would be perfectly comfortable with a 6-foot high greenhouse. I don't need it to be 7 foot high, 8 foot high. So for myself, here comes another complication. Where do I have to cut cattle panel to bring it down to 6 feet? Or I could make the decision to just leave it at whatever. Once I make the arc, leave it at what it is. But I would prefer 6 feet. I'd be happy with that. So I'm going to get the cattle panel. I did say this video was going to be maybe 1 or 2 series, but I don't want to leave you guys hanging with me just building, 4 2x4s together. I think I'm going to take you along in this video and actually show you how I'm going to start the cattle panel, to actually make the video a little bit more attractive to you guys that want to follow this the whole way through. Is that a deal? But don't forget, you need to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. It helps. So here's the basic idea, is I put the cattle panel. I haven't cut anything off the cattle panel. I need to do this so I can figure out the height of it. I don't know, like I said, I prefer it to be 6 feet, but if it ends up being 7 feet from here to here, I didn't do the math. It is 56, I believe 56 inches long. Actually, it might be more than that. Yeah, it's definitely more than that. What the hell am I talking about, 56 inches? Let me actually measure this so I can tell you the right information. Okay, so I did the math. So it's 192 inches long. And 109, that's 16 feet long. So it's a 50 inch by 192 inch. And according to my math, that should give me roughly about 6 foot, almost 7 feet. So I'm actually happy with that I don't have to really cut anything. So let's see if I can do this on my own. I was kind of hesitant, wait for my wife to help me. But I think I'm going to give it an attempt to do it on my own. So let's try this. Quick disclaimer, guys. This greenhouse build here that I'm doing with a cattle panel, it is not my idea. About a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I went on YouTube and I typed in how to build a cheap greenhouse. And I came across several videos that built them out of these cattle panels, and I found it very interesting, and I'm doing it. I watched quite a few, and I saw how they all did it pretty much the same, and I'm going to do it pretty much the same way that they kind of did it because it worked for them, so it's going to work for me. That's just a disclaimer. This is not my idea. So now it's time to nail down or staple down the sides. You see how that's, a little awkward. I need to work one side at a time. So instead of me asking the wife to help me, I'm going to try to be a little creative and see if I can do it on my own. By instead of wife help, I'm going to use 2x4 help and see how that works out. Alright, so to get this going, I'm going to try to do this by myself, but I'm just going to be putting the staple like right there, and I'm going to leave the cross piece, instead of raising it up, I'm going to leave it flush with the ground. And let's see what happens here. Now I'm doing this by myself. There we go, not bad. Let me, so basically I'm going to be doing every other, or maybe every one of them. Because I'm going to put a staple on every single one of them, because I have plenty of staples. So that's what I'm going to do, because I plan on this thing being here for the long run. Alright guys, so I got them all nailed in. As you can see, on both sides, I managed to do it by myself with the 2x4. But I want to point out a mistake I made, so you guys, if you're going to copy this video in the future, you don't make the same mistake I did, because I did make a mistake here. I was a little bit overzealous, and you see this first section here? Remember at the beginning of the video, I said I was going to overlap the cattle panels so I don't have to be doing any cutting? Well, look, I hammered it in, so now there's no way for the cattle panel to go on the inside of this, because I wanted it on the inside, on this side of the panel, which would be the outside of the other one. So now I have a choice to make. I can either tuck the other one in on the inside here, or take this staple out and tuck it behind here. So, if you're going to do it the way I'm doing it, don't hammer it all the way to the end. You can go a couple in and it will hold itself just fine. But that's just giving you a heads up. I did make a mistake there. Now I have to decide whether to take that out and then tuck the other one behind it, or leave it there and tuck it on the inside. I'll see how it goes. I'll make that decision. Yep. One more issue is I got to work around this tree stump over here. Do you guys see the issues, the problems I'm creating myself? It never ends. But I will get it done, because I'm being stubborn and I'm deciding to do it in between these two tree stumps. So now let's get the second cattle panel in and get it nailed down. So what I decided to do is I tucked it on the inside, and as you guys can see, it actually fit pretty flush. Let me show you the inside. So I went as on the inside, instead of taking out the bottom there that I messed up on, is I went on the inside, and now basically by hand, because I'm either going to be, I haven't decided yet, if you guys can see that, everything will line up when I push it together. And basically all it is I'm overlapping it, and you can see it will all line up just fine. And look at that, everything went right to the corners, and I didn't have to do absolutely any cutting. So all this is either going to get zip tied together. I'm either going to zip tie it, which obviously because it's overlapping, I would zip tie it here, here, or I would hog ring it, which, let me get the camera straight. I would hog ring it here and here to give it some really good strength. I haven't made up my mind whether to hog ring it or zip tie it, but that's an option. But let me bring you back outside again. So that's basically the foundation of it. So today we built, on episode 1, we built the foundation. We got the cattle panel in. Remember, I did this all by myself with just the simple help of a 2x4. It was actually not that difficult. I did make a mistake there. I really wanted it to go on the outside of the other cattle panel, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm not disappointed. I think that will work great. I actually think that might actually give it a little bit more strength, because you have this cattle panel actually putting pressure upwards on the first one. So I think this might actually work even better. So sometimes mistakes can be a good thing, but I wouldn't recommend making too many of them. All right, so I got it all zip tied. I got all the zip ties on the inside, if you guys can see that. Let me see if that can zoom in. It can't. Yep, I got it all on the inside. Looks pretty good. It's very strong so far, but it's going to get even stronger when I add the back to it, and then of course when I add the front door and everything to it. So that's going to be coming up in part 2 of this series. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for video number 1, chapter number 1, whatever you want to call it, for this build here of the cattle panel greenhouse. In part 2, I will be showing you how I'm going to do the door in the back, and maybe adding a window in the back. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet. If you have any questions or suggestions, in the comment section below is where you can leave those. I will certainly read through them. And remember, this is part 1. So if you have suggestions, I would recommend you leave them in the comment section below now in this video. So when I read it, before I start part 2, because part 2, you guys are going to come along with me. The best way you can do that is to click these little things right here. I said it earlier in the video. Follow along, support the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Oh, and also before I go, Mrs. Yups, Time to Shine Homestead, you're officially suspended for 1 week. No camera work out of you. So Tommy Smelts, Time to Shine Homestead, why don't you deal the camera work, my friend?